Now, what we also get in both Romans and Ecclesiastes 8 is actually an inherent job description of the state. So in Ecclesiastes 8, Solomon warns, do not take your stand in an evil cause. Why? Because the king does whatever he wants. He's got power. And what's the implication there? That part of the responsibility of the king is to punish people who take their stand in an evil cause. Part of the role of government biblically is to restrain evil, is to actually hand down consequences to people who do evil. This is exactly what Paul says in Romans 13, verse 3. He says, rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Now, Paul's giving an ideal job description of the state, because we might read that and say, do you think sometimes rulers are a terror to good conduct? Yes. One of the things that we've been tricked into in the church today, we've been comfortable and safe and prosperous in America for so long that we think that persecution and oppression is foreign to the Christian life. And if you would take the lightest dive, the shallowest dive into church history, into the history of our people, you would find that the comfort that we live in, that's what's foreign to the Christian life. The vast majority of Christians who have lived over the last 2,000 years have experienced exactly persecution, oppression, terror to good conduct. So Paul's not ignorant of the fact that governments can be corrupt and governments can in fact punish people who are doing good, but he's giving an ideal job description. What is the state supposed to do? And to be honest, what does it often do? It often fulfills this role. Rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is a servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Now, there are lots of crazy things happening in our culture today, and in some places, a frustration that many people have is that criminals are going unprosecuted. Yes? Now, you hear that a lot on the news, but the reality is, are the police not basically punishing bad people for doing bad things? They pretty much are. Now, you can find all kinds of examples because we live in a country with many, many, many municipalities, in a country of 350 million plus people. So sure, you can find examples of where this goes wrong. But ordinarily, what is most often happening is that evil's being kept in check. Yes? If somebody kills somebody else in our city, there is going to be an investigation launched to figure out who did that. And when they are caught, they are going to be given consequences. Do you feel basically confident that that's what would happen? I do. I feel basically confident. The idea here is that there's an inherent job description of the state that both the Old Testament and the New Testament give. And it's the idea that the state exists to impose order on chaos. And in doing that, to restrain the darkest, most vile, evil impulses of mankind. So even a flawed government is better than anarchy because to some degree it does do this.